काले धन के खिलाफ काम करने के लिए आपने मुझे कहा था कि नहीं कहा था?
If your money is illegitimate money and you've been stashing it away secretly, if you hoarded it away in some corner of your house or in some locker, and if you therefore, by doing so, have destroyed your own country's economy.
చాలా మంచిది, దేశ భవిష్యత్తుని పూర్తిగా మార్చేటువంటి నిర్ణయం. కాబట్టి మన పార్టీలు, కులాలు, ప్రాంతాలకు అతీతంగా 100% ఈ దేశంలో నిజాయితీ అయిన ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థ ఉండాలి. నల్ల డబ్బు పోవాలి ఇక్కడి నుంచైనా.
Demonetization seems to be the buzzword these days. Money, economy, there are a lot of things that are being discussed. Is demonetization the way it was taken? Is it an economic decision at all?
Most important question before we go into this issue. Now, the demonetization is a general economic measure which is followed by various countries across globe for various strategic reasons. But then if you see the demonetization as a measure to contain black money is very limited. Very limited, I would say. We have 195 plus countries, not even 3-4 countries have followed this measure at some particular point of time. If you see at a macro level, our GDP is at the rate of 25 to 30% of the black money. There is no scientific study as such, it is done in respect of that particular black money estimation. But then there are various experts who say that this is what 25 to 30% of black money should be lying in the economy. So this black money which is lying, which is estimated at 25 to 30% of the entire GDP, it's actually compared to other countries like African countries and even other developed countries, it is below average level. Now there are countries which have got 40% of their economy as black money, but none of them has followed demonetization as an economic measure to contain black money. Now the next immediate question what we have to see, if you want to pose this as a real economic measure to contain black money, you need to first understand how the black money is lying. Now when you say 25 to 30% of this economy, that ranges up to like 35 to 40 crores, 40 lakh crores of the total bounty available. Now the 35 to 40 lakh crores, obviously I think it's really foolish to expect somebody to keep it everything in the money, in the cash form, Now I would not be able to give you any scientific estimation of how much is the cash flow, but we can definitely validate this data, validate how much could be a rough estimation of this black money available in cash. Now, the income tax department have been functioning in this country for over 70 years and have conducted various raids and searches and all that. Now, there is a data available in the income tax site itself. If you go there, if you verify for yourself, you will get to know. Now, there are thousands of searches and raids conducted by IT. And there are thousands of crores which are extracted, which is extracted from defaulters, tax defaulters, in the form of unaccounted income. Now, unaccounted income is nothing but your black money. Now, the percentage of that unaccounted income, what they have got from the tax evaders is less than 5%. So they give you data like, this much we got it in cash and this much in non-cash form. So if you see the data, it is less than 5% of the unaccounted income is caught in terms of cash. So that is a simple indication. Now, so when you have only 5% of the cash lying in economy as a black in terms of black, now demonetization is an effective measure to contain it. Is the real question. So if you see your international experience and if you see the pragmatic conditions what are prevailing in India, it doesn't seem to be a tenable argument to say that demonetization is an effective measure to contain black money. And there is so far there are no significant instances where they have validated this particular data.
It's not an approved method to contain black money, and it's not an economic measure at all. Do you mean to say there is no benefit out of this thing at all?
This is not an economic measure which is validated by much of the countries, or in practical conditions it is not a much validated measure. Now your question is, does it not have benefit at all? First of all, I think we need to rephrase this question, to give you more insight and how to frame this. When the Narmada dam was constructed, there was a question, there is no benefit at all. But then, see, in India, there is no collective goodness. There is no collective good what happens to the country. No. any large measure, what is happening in this country has got certain costs and certain benefits. Now, how these costs and benefits are dispersed over the population is what is more important question.
Okay, is there a way we can do a cost-benefit analysis of this decision?
Yeah, that's actually more appropriate question. Let me just explain this. I'll just go to the board and I'll explain. Okay. I'll explain you with some numbers, some broad numbers especially. I will not go into particular, I'll just round off and I'll give you some figures. These are all official figures, you can just verify it. Now, our GDP is like 110 lakh crores. Okay? Now, you can say 120 or 100, that's a different thing. Just let me say 110 lakh crores. Now, out of this, what is private consumption expenditure? Private consumption expenditure is roughly something like 60 lakh crores. What does that mean? Private consumption expenditure means this is the expenditure the entire India incurs on day in, day out for their, in the normal course of their life. Right. Now, I would want to let you understand this private consumption expenditure is, there is a food expenditure and non-food expenditure. Correct? In rural pattern, we have, this is almost 50%, and urban pattern, it is little less, this is little more, okay? But I would say, just for the sake of it, you consider this like 50% of this, okay? Now, out of this non-food expenditure, if you cut down the unimportant expenditure which is required for the, which is not required for the daily course of life, it is like consumer durables, and you would say alcohol, all that sort of things. So it would be, I will cut down to say 40%, right? So this takes 50 plus 40%, this takes to 90% of the figure is roughly an unavoidable expenditure by entire Indian citizens. Now, out of these 90%, this is like into 60 lakh crores. This takes you to 54 lakh crores. Correct? So this is an expenditure India incurs in, day out. Right. Now, I'll come to a different thing. I have to, out of 54 lakh expenditure, now we'll have to look at it, the workers, employees, or this is like this, 5% are in organized sector, 95% are in unorganized sector. This is another demographic of economics, and 70% in rural and 30% in urban areas. Now, when you say 95% people are in unorganized sector and 5% in unorganized sector, and when I say 70% are in rural and 5% are in urban, this gives an idea of a magnitude of cash-based economy what we have. This is the sector, 95% and 70% of this sector indicates a large chunk of, bulk chunk of the cash-based economy. Now, out of these 54 lakh crores, now if I say people who are in 70% in rural, who do not have credit cards, debit cards, who don't do online transactions, all that, right? Now, if you make it like 70%, right? This translates to, I'll just take the calculator. So that translates to 38 lakh crores for 50 days. This is for 365 days multiplied by 50 days. How much does this? Now, 38 divided by 365 into 50 days. This roughly goes to 5.2 lakh crores is the activity in terms of private consumption expenditure which is in trouble. This is the level of expenditure which is in trouble. Now, even if you attach, factor for errors and estimations and all that, and even if you consider another 70% of it, right, it will take you to at least 3.5 lakh crores. So we are talking about the slowdown in economy, we are talking about stifling of the economy, we are talking about interruption in the daily life in terms of monetary terms. It should be averaging around 3.5 lakhs. This is the cost in terms of quantitative measurement. Now, if I don't have a specific answer, if you say why can't it be 3 lakh crores or why can't it be 4 lakh crores? So this is to give you an idea of the magnitude of the loss what we are going to deal with, magnitude of slowdown in the economy what we are going to deal with. So this is in the quantitative measurement. This is the suffering the Indian economy has to have in terms of this. There is Center for Monitoring Indian Economy which has given a figure of 1.28 lakh crores is the loss to the economy. It is the cost to the economy. Now these 1.28 lakh crores, when it was specifically asked, then they came with a figure that this is a conservative estimate. Probably the likely figure would be much more than this. So this is the range what we have to understand. This is the range we are putting lakhs of crores in jeopardy, and then we are initiating a measure for recovery of some X amount of black money. Now this is one part. And second part, this is most important part. The second part is there is unquantifiable inconvenience what is happening in the human life. There are people who cannot afford to go to their daily labor and they have to spare the entire day in the bank queues, right, in the ATM queues.
का सामना करना पड़ रहा है लोगों को, 2-2 घंटे लाइन लगाने पड़े, लाइन भी ना लगना पड़े.
Now, what happens? Even banking officers, they have to burn midnight oil to get the transaction smooth. Now, see, I'll give you a small example. I was talking to one of my friends, and the bank officers are started getting infectious diseases because you don't get this 2,000 rupees exchange or 1,000 rupees exchange from Tata Birla or anybody else. You have to exchange these notes day in, day out, every hour, every minute, from a person who has no access to any kind of health care, who doesn't have any consciousness about his own health. I've personally known so many banking friends who have fallen sick for this. Now, I'm just giving you a dupe of what is happening on the ground. Now, you cannot really, if you see, you cannot really quantify it. But then there are crores of people, I would say. It's not even lakhs. When you still say 70% of Indian population lies in rural areas and 95% of people work in unorganized sector, it talks a lengthy story about Indian backwardness in terms of dealing in the non-cash transactions. Now, if this is the case, consequent to this particular thing, there are lives which are evaporating on the earth now. You see, now it's like 70 lives, I believe. I think they are no more, and going forward, it is estimated that like another 50 or 100 may be added up to this particular thing. If you say these are all forced martyrs.
दुकानदारों ने पुराने नोट लेने से मना कर दिया तो सुखदेव सिंह ये सदमा बर्दाश्त नहीं कर सके और हार्ट अटैक से उनकी मौत हो गई. ప్రభుత్వ ఉద్యోగి బాలరాజు క్యూలోనే చనిపోయాడు. 4 రోజులుగా డబ్బుల కోసం తన తండ్రి బ్యాంకుకు వస్తున్నాడని ఆయన కుమారుడు విలపిస్తూ చెప్పాడు.
These are all forced martyrs. They died because they have no choice. They haven't died. You cannot tell them that you have died for the country. It is after all the family which is living on them, expecting that tomorrow he will come back with some money and then they will live on that. But then it's a forced martyrdom which is attached to them. Now, no government will be giving any prominence to this, correct? Now, if you are prepared, yes, I will kill 100 people and I'll bring black money back, you should have told us upfront. Then we will give you the list of 100 people to whom you have to kill and then get the black money, probably much more than 1,000 times more than what you have to get. But now that is not the case, because we are living in a democratic system. There is a value attached to a life. Whether it is a life of a laborer, whether it is a life of Tata or Ambani, or it is one and the same. So if you account for these quantitative losses and qualitative losses, the magnitude will be very terrifying. This is a terrifying thing. So in that perspective, I really don't see the benefit what accruing from demonetization is really commensurating with the what cost we are incurring on this. Now, I just want to further delve upon this particular thing. People come and say, no, you have to sacrifice the nation. You have to sacrifice for the nation.
Let us join this festival of integrity and credibility.
In his address to the nation on Tuesday, Prime Minister Modi called it a grand sacrifice for the country.
People are being sacrificing for the nation. It is not a new thing what has happened in this country for the first time. When you build large hydro dams, these are the Dalits and Adivasis have sacrificed their lives. Their habitation, they have left their habitations. Now, when you put a mining project, these are Adivasis, they were evacuated and they left their livelihood. It is a sacrifice. The sacrifice has been going for decades and decades. This is not the first time the Dalit Adivasi, Muslim and backward caste are making sacrifices. So these are the forced sacrifices anyways. So what we need to understand is, in the whole gamut of, in the quantitatively and qualitatively, if you see, the benefit what is estimated to be accrued, as we see in the initial discussions, the kind of black money what is lying in cash and the kind of black money what we are going to unearth and the kind of perils what we are undergoing to extract that particular cash, there is no comparison at all.
Contention also is that largely general opinion of Indians is Modi is at least doing something and doing with that kind of sincerity. So would it count for something? Because logically it doesn't seem to be fitting in terms of either economics nor in terms of growth of economics in India. But general feeling essentially is that there is something positive that is being done.
This something is like size of rat, and people are imagining it as a dinosaur. We did have this size of benefit in 1978 too. Now where are we now? It's again back to 30% of GDP. So the approach to the problem is something wrong. This is what we need to realize. And we are not here to look at something from Modi. So see, he's doing something and let him do a little bit. First of all, I would like to say, this is a sheer complacency syndrome.
लाइन लगे तो क्या प्रॉब्लम है? देश के लिए 1 घंटा 2 घंटा लाइन में लगे तो नो प्रॉब्लम. करप्शन बढ़ जाना चाहिए, कैसे भी जाए करप्शन जाना चाहिए.
सबको परेशानी हुई थी, हमको पता है. आपको भी कष्ट हुआ था, मुझे भी कष्ट हुआ था, हमारे पास कैश था, हम लोग को दिक्कत होने वाली है. लेकिन अगर ऐसी दिक्कत मेरे देश के लिए मुझे सहनी पड़े, 1000 बार सहूंगा, लेकिन मेरे मुंह से चू नहीं निकलेगी, क्योंकि देश में पैदा हुआ हूं, देश के लिए जीता हूं.
This is a complacency syndrome, essentially. Now, what have you elected Modi for? That's the important question. What have you elected Modi for? Have you elected him for letting him speculate and do something? At least something. This is what is your expectation? Then he could have given the same benefit of doubt to Manmohan Singh or Sitaram Yechuri or somebody else. See, there are two things which I want to say. Now, first thing, there is a mammoth problem. You are talking about 35 lakh range of black money. There is a gigantic promise which is made by somebody before elections, 15 lakh rupees in an account. So that translates to 1800 lakh crores, which is 15 times of our GDP money. Okay, I'm not saying anything on that. Okay, it's Modi's ignorance that he couldn't tally what kind of numbers we have in front of us, and he must have promised in a frenzy in the frenzy of elections. Okay, now what did we expect? Now, when there is a gigantic promise and there is a mammoth problem, ultimately what are you settling it for? And we have also seen in the last discussion there is a cost involved in it. Now, do we have a calculation of it? No, how can it be even termed as something you are gaining it? So, the complacency syndrome, this reflects the poor negotiating position of people in the democratic system. We are reducing the negotiating power of people day by day. This is a very serious and very dangerous problem to democracy. You are supposed to expect something really big and big. Sometimes I really get astonished and somebody says, Smriti Irani is 10th standard and she speaks English. Now, question is, a minister should have a qualification to speak English only. So this is the complacency syndrome. You feel very elated. She speaks English. This is not what a HR minister is nominated for. This is not for something which Modi is nominated for. No. And as educated citizens of this country, I think we should have more responsibility in asking ourselves, is this what we are expecting from Modi? Is this what is the speculative functioning we expect from Modi? So this is more important.
With these numbers, I broadly understand that the cost of this entire decision seems to be much larger than the benefit that we are going to get out of it. Slightly digressing from this demonetizing issue, there is also parallelly news about writing off loans to almost 7,000 crores to all these corporate people. Is it also a measure of raising black money in one way?
I'll explain you with again a little bit of numbers, so that would help you really to understand. See, now you need to understand what is write-off by a bank. Write-off is not a sanction. A write-off does not entail you a right to evade, to further default, to get away from paying money to the bank, right? Now, suppose a bank raises, this is a deposit, 100 rupees. A bank is allowed to give a loan of 75 rupees. Balance goes into cash reserves and all that. If you have 100 rupees, then you get 75 rupees as your loan. So typically what happens is 75 rupees may you have the 5 rupees is the default. This is NPA. I would say this is NPA. Okay. I'm trying to simplify as much as possible to let you understand. Now, a typical bank's balance sheet looks like this. Now, I have a capital of 15 here. Okay. So I have got other investment. This is loans. I would say this is loans, and this is other investments. Whatever you call it as GSEC, you call it investment subsidiaries, all fixed assets, or whatever you call it. Now it is 40. So this takes 150. So you have a capital. This is a deposit, right? And this is capital. Now, when you say this, you have 115 resources and you have lent 115 resources, right? Now, out of this, so from this 115, you generate some returns of 7%, 10%, or whatever returns you generate. But then you identify this certain amount of money, it is like 5, it's generating only 0%. What will you do with it? You will not continue to show the people, show your investors, show your public that you have 75 loan book. You would come back and say that my loan book is only 70. This is write-off. You would say this is nothing but 75 minus 5. So you would say my loan book is 70. And your book size will go down to 110. but your deposits are continue to be 115, what they will say, so I am writing off this capital. So this I am making it 10. So that means I am not expecting any returns out of that. My money has gone. I have eroded. My capital has gone into meeting my losses. Whatever the money I have put in, that has gone to meet my losses. So this is 110 question. Typically, write-off means, this is the concept of write-off. This is the concept of write-off. So banks take these commercial decisions day in, day out, and this has been in practice for several years. Foreign banks do it, private banks do it, and internationally also banks follow this particular practice. They accelerate write-offs, they taper it over a period of time and then provide. There are specific guidelines also from RBI. You know, in case if you want to write off, you will have to make 100% provisions for that particular loan in a periodical manner and then write off. And if you have any unsecured portion of this particular loan, then you have to write off to that extent. So these are the certain set-line guidelines. Now, so this write-off particularly, this doesn't give away any cash to anybody else. When it does not give away any cash to anybody else, this is no question of generating any black money out of it. So then, where the black money gets generated out of the banking system? We'll just confirm it. Basically, the fundamental thing what we have to understand is black money gets generated only when there is an asset created. If there is an asset created, there is a deployment of cash. So the cash goes into cycling. So it goes into rotation. So every cycle there is a dripping of the cash and it converts into your black money. Now, so essentially, and in the banking system, write-offs is only a technical thing. It is on an accounting practice, but actually the black money generates at the time of sanction and disbursement. Sanction and disbursement. This is something which you have to be very carefully understand this. So the black money generates at the source. The source is created when the disbursement happens from the bank.
Move is good.
Very bold move.
Benefits what we are going to get from this thing what Mr. Modi has done.
See, the economics is being mixed with the politics. Its economics is being mixed with a kind of ideology what Modi believes in. Now, the currency management is a responsibility of RBI. And in a way, I would say, black money, if it hurts your economy, then it is RBI which has to mull over it and then come with a solution. Probably, I don't say PM should not get involved in this because you need a political support at some particular point of time. That is all fine. But then, it is this point of time where Modi has taken complete reins of economic decision. Now, this is something really funny about it. And you see, the people, I keep hearing from people say that the spirit is good, the spirit is good. Spirit is good. Spirit is always good. You see, when Sanjay Gandhi imposed the sterilization thing on the people, the spirit is good. The spirit is good, right? Now, so we need to go beyond this. Now, you want to prove that all humans are equal, all the blood of all humans are equal, and you cut throat of everyone and show the blood and say, so my spirit is, the spirit of doing this is fine. But that's not the spirit. That is not the spirit what we talk about. Now, your intent to take the spirit of the decision to forward is something really wrong. The intent clearly, your attitude, your behavior clearly depicts your intent. The way you are handling things, it clearly shows your intent. This demonetization measure was already mooted at the time of UPA, and it was very clear that BJP has opposed it. BJP has opposed it. This is on record.
मित्रों, जो आज का विषय है वो जो आर्थिक व्यवस्था इस देश में पिछले 10 सालों से जिस गैर जिम्मेदारी के साथ निभाई जा रही है, उसी के तहत एक नई पॉलिसी लाई गई है जिसमें 2005 से पहले के नोटों को, करेंसी नोटों को विड्रॉ करने का विषय आज की सरकार लेकर आई है। कहीं ना कहीं ये विषय जो बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा है काले धन का, उसको भ्रमित करने के लिए लाया गया है, क्योंकि इससे जो 65% इस देश की जनता है जिसके पास बैंक अकाउंट तक नहीं है और जो अपने पैसे को छोटे छोटे सेविंग के रूप में अपनी जीवन की कमाई घरों में रखते हैं, और जो पढ़े लिखे नहीं हैं और दूर दराज में जहां पर बैंक तक नहीं है, उनका जो जीवन की कमाई है वो अफेक्ट होगी, ना कि काला धन। क्योंकि जिनके पास काला धन है और शहरों में है या जिनके पास व्यवस्था है, वो उन नोटों को बदलकर नए नोट जमा कर लेंगे। लेकिन जो गरीब आदमी है, जो असलियत में एक आम औरत और आम आदमी जो कि अपने पति से कुछ पैसा बचाकर शायद आटे के डब्बे में पैसा रखती है या दाल चावल में पैसा छुपा कर रखती है, ये उनकी जीवन की कमाई वो इस अव्यवस्था से प्रभावित होगी। और उस व्यवस्था के तहत जहां पर 3-3 कमेटियां बनाई गई सन 2011 में, जबकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा था कि आप एक एसआईटी हम बनाना चाहते हैं जो कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट की निगरानी में काला धन जो कि विदेशों में जमा है उसको वापस लाने का इंतजाम ये सरकार करे, पैसा जो गैर जिम्मेदार तरीके से विदेशों में जमा है उसको लाने की प्रक्रिया क्या हो, और कितना पैसा जमा है विदेशों में उस पर भी एक मन ना बन पाए, इसलिए आप 3 कमेटियों का गठन करते हैं। क्योंकि अगर आप एक कमेटी गठित करते हैं तो एकदम सर्टेन होता है कि यही होगा, और उसका जो सीधे तौर पर इशारा है वो ये है कि 3 कमेटियां आपस में ही भिड़ती रहेंगी, परिभाषा से लेकर कितना पैसा है और क्या प्रक्रिया हो उसको वापस लाने की, उस पर कोई नतीजा उपलब्ध ना हो सके। और जिस इन्होंने बात की थी रेड आइड की, तो उसके संदर्भ में मैंने कहा है कि जो इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी है इस देश की, वो खाली ब्लू ब्लडेड अमीर लोग जिनके विदेशों में अकाउंट है, जो कि स्विस बैंक के अंदर अपने खाते रखते हैं, या तमाम ऐसी जगहों पर जहां पर वो अपने पैसे को या तो डॉलर के रूप में जोड़ते हैं या फ्रेंच फ्रैंक के रूप में जोड़ते हैं या डॉइच मार्क के रूप में जोड़ते हैं, वही लोग हैं जिनका जीवन इससे प्रभावित नहीं होगा। लेकिन जो गरीब अपनी एक एक पैसे को हिंदुस्तानी रुपए के रूप में जोड़ता है और उसके जीवन की जो कमाई है वो 65% भारतीयों का जीवन इससे प्रभावित होगा। और ऐसे में ये जो पॉलिसी है ये काले धन से जूझने की नहीं, बल्कि काला धन कैसे ना लाया जाए उसको भ्रमित करने के लिए, अव्यवस्था पैदा करने के लिए बनाई गई है।
Now, where is the question of intent? Now, how are you handling it? You are showing your attitude of anti-parliamentarianist attitude. Anti-parliamentarianism is not something appreciable. We have created an institution. We have believed in an institution. Whether it is right or wrong, that's a different question. If you don't believe in it, please abolish it. That's not a problem. But when you have believed in something, then you cannot be going against it. If you say that it's this, if you view this in the wrong angle of spirit is right, the spirit of the decision is right. Now, actually, if you see what Modi has done, Modi has promised 15 lakh in your account. 15 lakh in your account on, you say 120 crore people, it is like 1800 lakh crores. It is like 15-17 times of your GDP. It is a ridiculous promise what he has made. Now you see, he has made a ridiculous promise and now he got into his own trap. I would really say opposition parties, the liberals, the secularists are very successful enough to expose this particular gamble of promise on all over. Modi and Modi's cadre, wherever they go, it was the only question, where is my 15 lakhs? Where is my 15 lakhs? And he got into his own trap. Now, if he doesn't show anything aggressive, he would be doomed. Even otherwise also, I don't see any prospects out of it. But he got into his own trap. The thing is, it is got into it. So, we'll have to keep this particular argument aside. Because the intent of doing this is something different. If he has that right intent in place, then he would not be escaping from the people. He would not be escaping from the, he will not be avoiding parliamentary discussions. Now, this authoritarianism of doing something is related to the ideology he believes in. The one-man show and putting personality into the politics and thrusting upon the people, which people do not believe in or which people bear the brunt of the decision, is something really we need to look at a high level. So this attitude comes out of the intent, and attitude comes out of the ideology what he believed in. This is what he has been taught during his RSS days. So I would really say, this is a kind of I would say this is a fascist attitude. This is a fascist attitude. So this is percolating down to economics. This is what my worry really about. He is portraying that India has never been ruled by anybody else in the past, and it is the first time Modi is ruling India. He thinks India has been having all laggards all along. Now there is a hero who has come in. Now, India has no democracy at all. India has no governance at all. India is living in stone ages, and now there is a man who has come with a modern thinking. You see? So this is the cult he is building up around. This is the cult he is building up around. So if you see, these are all nothing but, if you see the intent and attitude, these are all nothing but fascist tendencies. Now you see, first we need to understand how the black money is getting generated, where the black money is lying. Once we understand, that is the first step, that is the first point from where we have to start our journey. Black money generally gets generated in various ways, and largely it is like under invoicing and over invoicing thing happens. Then you have whenever the asset is created, that means when asset is created, when the capital is deployed, either debt or equity or whatever kind of capital is deployed, when the asset is created, then there is a overvaluation or undervaluation of asset. Then you have evading tax, like you cut down recovery cards, evade excise duty, evade sales tax, evade income tax, and all that. Correct. So now these are the major sources where the black money is generated. These are the major originating points where the black money is generated. Now, unless otherwise you have a thinking that you must attack the problem at the origin, at the source, you will never be able to handle it once it goes out of the source. Now, this is a sin which we have accumulated over a period of 70 years. Now, and we are not really sure how this particular sin is dispersed. Where is it lying? Where is these products of this sin are lying? You don't know Swiss banks, you don't know Singapore, you don't know Amsterdam. Where it is lying, you really not sure about it. So there is no scientific study for that. So I would say you need to first have a thinking that let me cut it down at the origin itself. That is the first and foremost point to build up an approach to address the problem of black money. So this problem definitely needs sweeping changes in the system. It needs sweeping changes in the system. Now, to implement this kind of sweeping changes, you need to take people along with you. But then we have a very big problem in our political system. There is a lot of trust deficit. There is a lot of trust deficit in the people. Now, if you gradually build up the confidence within the people to take the measure is very, very, very important. Now, this is a sin which you have accumulated for 70 years and you want to take it up one day. It's not possible. It's not practical. You can romanticize it, but it's not practical. if you think there is no value to the human life, you can cause any inconvenience to the life, then probably you can go on with the fascist measures and do it. But that's not the problem. So you need to address the trust deficit. How do you do that? You bring all political parties into RTI and say, this is how I am handling the black money, and I am suffering myself, and I am not sparing anyone. It starts somewhere where you have to build up the trust. Then you draw given your vague estimates though, draw a normal curve and see where is the 20% of it lying, where is the 40% of it lying, where is 80% of it. Take this, calculate where is the density of this black money, hit there, and don't mind which is 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, 5 corporates or whatever. Show some result that at one go you got 3,000 crores, 5,000 crores, 10,000 crores at one shot, and then go ahead. We can convert all these into action points, into specific action points if you have got a real intent. Now, so basically we fail to understand what should be the approach of black money, and Prime Minister Modi has got a wrong political intent in doing it. That is where all the problem is lying. As you go on building the trust and developing confidence in the political democratic system, yeah, you can do it. You can implement demonetization at a particular point of time. Perhaps I would say demonetization would be the last step to implement it. But then unfortunately it has come as a first step, because you got a wrong political intent doing it. That's a problem.